Moving on into today's video, oh boy! This is a subject that I've been wanting to do for quite some time now, but haven't because it's a two-parter. It's definitely going to be a two-parter. So look out for that, because psychology it's got so much going on. That's why I want to get into the basics today.
Question everything, question everything, question everything, question everything. Why?
What are our basic needs as human beings? 1. Safety and survival. 2. Understanding and growth. 3. Connection and acceptance. 4. Contribution and creation. 5. Esteem, identity, significance. 6. Self-direction, freedom, and justice. 7. Self-fulfillment and self-transcendence. So the number one thing that humans need is safety and survival, which is obvious given you can't have any other needs if you aren't alive and safe from outside threats. As we established in the last video, almost every single minimum wage worker, which is about 70 to 80 million people in America, doesn't have access to secure or decent housing. That doesn't include all the homeless people, which is sadly a very large number. 580,466 people experienced homelessness in 2020, an increase of 12,751 people or 2.2% from 2019. So a huge percentage of people don't have their first and most important need met, which means that all of their other needs are practically ignored. What happens when your needs aren't met? Unmet needs can lead to feelings that we consider negative: anger, confusion, disappointment, frustration, hopelessness, irritation, sadness, loneliness, and embarrassment, to name a few. We're only human, so it's natural to feel these, especially at times that we can't meet those needs. When we allow ourselves to react externally and negatively to people in our lives due to our needs simply not being met, this causes a ripple effect to everyone around you. Healthy emotional processing is key to stopping unhelpful reactivity. Don't judge yourself for feeling, and don't try to repress your feelings either. Both of these are harmful to your well-being. Mindfulness is essential to this therapeutic technique. By calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations, it is easier to see the impact it has. It can be difficult in the beginning, but with practice and a good therapist, perhaps you'll reach a better state of being. Crystal Rapol, in their article, How to Become the Boss of Your Emotions, says, when you suppress or repress your emotions, you're preventing yourself from experiencing and expressing feelings. This can happen consciously, suppression, or unconsciously, repression. Healthy emotional expression involves finding some balance between overwhelming emotions and no emotions at all. Alright, so say you have stable housing and income, etc. The next thing you would need would be understanding and growth. To be understood by and understand others and the world around us. Gaining knowledge and developing competence. Interpersonal relationships are greatly affected by this need because it is the cornerstone of society. A mother understands when a baby cries that they have needs which need to be met. A child might throw a tantrum if not being understood. All of the other 6 categories of need require that we are understood by others so that they can collaborate affirmatively. If communication is lacking, then understanding is off the table. It is imperative that we work to achieve understanding, especially before judging someone. You never know what someone else's experience may be, and it's basic respect to allow them room for that safe and open line of communication. Misunderstandings can lead to all sorts of unwanted consequences and can badly damage trust, and even the need for safety. For example, if you were diagnosed with a memory disorder, and people who don't understand how it affects you might take your forgetfulness personally and lash out, creating a negative impact on your relationship with them, when it's simply a matter that you don't have control over, and it's in no way intended to be personal. The third need is pretty straightforward. If you can feel safe and understood by someone, that connection will only strengthen, and you'll feel accepted by them. I'm simply using this as an example, but a very prevalent one. Say a religious family threatens the safety of their child for not aligning with their beliefs, or their faith's ideals. This is due to the lack of understanding why the child doesn't align, and doesn't stop to consider. They move out or get kicked out, and sever the connection, knowing that they aren't accepted by the family. This happens to many LGBTQ+ kids, and even more so with POCs, when parents believe that it's a sin, even though being gay is natural and not a choice. Empathy, people, empathy. Where is your humanity?
It's time for a mindful moment. We can take a moment to check in with ourselves.
Did you hear the news? The news about problem? The news about problem? You mean the fall of Afghanistan? Yes. Or the IPCC report on how badly we're doing at preventing climate change? Yes. Or the decades-long sustained process of suppressing wage increases compared to the cost of living, consequently widening the socio-economic gap between billionaires and everyone else? Yes. Or the increased media profile of anti-science, anti-factual commentators? Yes. So almost all major geopolitical and socio-economic problems in the world today? Yes. Almost all of them. Have you heard of almost all of the big problems in the world today? Yes. I'm trying very hard to not be overwhelmed by a feeling of hopelessness. It's difficult. Yes, the problems are all so complex, and it's not like pretty much all of them have one common, huge, easy to understand contributing factor that's within the power of governments to regulate, is it? What if I told you they do have one common, huge, easy to understand contributing factor that's within the power of governments to regulate? Wait, what? Afghanistan. Has anyone benefited from the past 20 years? Not America. No. Certainly not the soldiers, especially those traumatized, injured, or killed. No. Not the Afghan people, clearly. No. Even the Taliban have had a bad time, so not them either. No. So who? A small number of defense contractors and arms manufacturers, and their shareholders. They've all made big piles of cash. Who are their shareholders? Mainly extremely wealthy people, and hedge funds, banks, and investment firms. Where do the hedge funds, banks, and investment firms get the money from to invest? Mainly extremely wealthy people. Okay, what about climate change? 71% of CO2 emissions are caused by just 100 companies. And who owns, invests in, and makes money from these companies? Mainly extremely wealthy people. Suppression of wages benefits mainly extremely wealthy people. Degrading the quality of factual media by platforming lunatics. Good for viewing figures, benefiting the owners of the news channels and advertisers on those channels, who are mainly extremely wealthy people. The rise of fascism explains away decades of underinvestment in public services by blaming foreigners and leftists. Who benefits from the underinvestment? The people getting the biggest tax cuts, who are say it with me, mainly extremely wealthy people. But I thought wealth would trickle down. If by trickle down you mean the world's richest man will wear a child's cowboy hat and ride a giant dildo to space, then yes. That was not what I meant. Then no. But what can we do? What can we do to stop more space dildos? Taxing extremely wealthy people. The money we need to fix the very many problems in the world exists. We created it, and governments can recover it by taxing extremely wealthy people. Is this just a leftist thing? No! We're all in the same boat, left, right, and centrist. But people with 9-figure net worths are setting the boat on fire, not for warmth, but because they like looking at the flames and will evacuate to their private yachts as the rest of us sing. So we should demand our politicians do something. We should demand our politicians do something. Demand. It's the only way. Demand. Tell your friends to demand change too. Demand. Tell your friends to tell their friends. Demand. 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 Demand.
Once you're understood, you have the energy and motivation for contribution and creation. That way you're not being shunned. This ties in nicely with the last video because it is an actual need that we have as humans to be able to participate in society in a meaningful way. In order to contribute, we have to create. And this is precisely what has kept the human race evolving and thriving. Not capitalism, it's the simple need that we have as humans to become better, to grow, to learn, to help our community find new ways of doing things. Something that I know everyone struggles with due to social media and the definition of capitalistic success, our esteem and identity can really falter. Your contributions to society and identity are judged by others, and that is what forms self-esteem. Issues arise when one's identity is considered inferior, illegitimate, or threatened by others in some way. This can cause one to have lower self-esteem. In the modern age of technology and the internet, every single person feels the need to share every single thing that happens all the time. Learning how to tune out the negative comments can be exhausting and practically never-ending. But surrounding yourself with people you love and trust can help build your self-esteem and confidence in your own identity, all while isolating negative people and hopefully leading them to question why no one wants to be around them. This is not to say follow a toxic positivity mindset, but to question the quality of a relationship. Autonomy, or the control over one's life, is really where we can start to spiral. If you can't choose what you contribute and your choices are hindered, you no longer have autonomy. In these trying times with a global pandemic, climate crisis, mass shootings, and other things that we face daily, it can feel like we have no control over our lives. Freedom and justice are in the Pledge of Allegiance, sure, but they aren't being practiced. Instead, policed by authorities. This is one of the biggest factors in that hopeless feeling, that lack of control that we have. If the people in charge won't change, then how can we do anything good for the world? Think smaller. You're only one person, and you can't change the world overnight, but you can start with understanding and kindness. If everyone understood each other, there would be less conflict, and stronger connections. This world is being torn apart by fear and misinformation, and it needs to stop. The final need is hardly met by most people, and that would be self-fulfillment. If we aren't able to meet all of our other needs, then how in the world are we supposed to feel like we're achieving our life's purpose? I can barely get out of bed and make breakfast most days, let alone feel confident that I'm living a meaningful and fulfilling life. And in the words of Bo Burnham, why do you rich fucking white people insist on viewing every socio-political conflict through the myopic lens of your own self-actualization? This isn't about you, so either get with it, or get out of the fucking way. It's easy for rich people to ignore the daily problems we face if they have all of their needs met. I'm not so sure that's the case for some, seeing how if they had deeper connections with humans, they might actually present empathy for the global population and spend time, money, and resources fixing problems instead of, I don't know, going to space. But that is all for today's video. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know down in the comment section below. Feel free to subscribe by clicking down below, and you can also click over here to either watch a previous video of mine, maybe one of the ones in the series. If this is your first video, then I do have a playlist that you can check out for this series. So have a fantastic day, and don't forget to question everything.